Hello everybody, welcome to today's Lectio Divina. In this video today, we're going to be going over the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, verses 35 through 38. Jesus said to his disciples, "Gird your loins and light your lamps, and be like servants who await their master's return from a wedding. Be ready to open immediately when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants, whom the master finds vigilant on his arrival. Amen, I say to you, he will gird himself, have them recline at table, and proceed to wait on them. And should he come in the second or third watch, and find them prepared in this way, blessed are those servants." I'm going to read it for you one more time, and I want you to try to find the phrase or a few words that really speak to you, okay? Gird your loins and light your lamps, and be like servants who await their master's return from a wedding, ready to open immediately when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants, whom the master finds vigilant on his arrival. Amen, I say to you, he will gird himself, and have them recline at the table, and proceed to wait on them. And should he come in the second or third watch, and find them prepared in this way, blessed are those servants. So, one reflection you can take from this passage is that we don't know when we're going to die, right? It's inevitable. Everybody dies. Nobody gets out of life alive. We all are going to perish at some point. And what Jesus is trying to teach us here is, he said you should always be vigilant, always be ready for death, ready for when he comes. And I think for many of us, when we put off things like confession, when we put off things like receiving the sacraments, when we put off things that are really going to matter more in this life, it's not going to help us in our case for when Christ comes, because he's going to come at an hour we don't expect. In fact, if we even look at yesterday's gospel, it kind of goes hand in hand, where he speaks of, life does not consist of one's possessions, and that comes also from the Gospel of Luke. And so thus it will be for one who stores up treasure for himself, but not rich in what matters to God. And these gospel readings are really connected, right? Because first of all, Jesus is telling us you should store your riches in heaven, which is your virtue. And this reading, he's telling us, be prepared for when the Lord comes. So with these readings combined, what the message that Jesus is sharing is that if Jesus arrives in your life right now, meaning if you die today, would you be prepared? Right? Would you be prepared to live to show him the things that you've done? And many of the saints have said this, especially when they're about to die. They said, "I wish I had more time." Because one of the things that we believe as Catholics is that you do have a place in heaven, and you do merit a place in heaven depending on your virtue here on earth. Now, that doesn't mean that we're simply gutting to heaven by our own means. Not at all. We're cooperating with God's grace, and the more we cooperate with God, the higher our degree in heaven is going to be. In fact, he has a place prepared for us, and if we don't make it to those, if we don't make it, then that's what purgatory is for. But Mother Angelica said this best. She says, don't shoot for purgatory, you might miss, right? You should shoot for heaven, right? Try to be perfect in this life. And, even the apostles told Jesus, said, hey, this is difficult, especially after Jesus says, like, it's more likely for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And then I think it was Peter said, but who can be saved, right? And Jesus said, with God, everything is possible, right? So that's what I want you to reflect on today. That's what I'm going to reflect on today, is I'm going to meditate upon my death. I'm going to think about accepting the death that God has chosen for me. Because I think many of us, we probably envision ourselves dying surrounded by family, maybe in a hospital bed, or maybe like in our sleep. But that might not be the death that God has for you. The death that God might have for you might be drastically different. And if you accept that willingly and know that God's only doing it for your sanctification, then you'll live your life in a much different way. And I think that's something that we all have to remember, especially as we see the rest of the world get more and more consumerist and more obsessed with the material things of this life. I think it's important for us as Christians to focus on things that are better and remember that the world to come is going to surpass this world in every way imaginable, right? So that's the reflection I have for you guys today. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.